You've seen 1,000 carry lists, same guns, different order, and same dudes wearing their favorite logo is the only thing keeping civilization alive today. I'm not doing that because 2025 actually changed carry. Not on paper, in real life. Guns got smaller without turning into junk, capacity jumped without feeling like a brick on your belt. A few of these showed up and flat out made people retire stuff they swore by, and I happen to be one of them. So if you're carrying what you've carried 5 years ago just because it's familiar, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying this year might have passed you. Here are the top 13 handguns that changed everything in 2025. Let's get going, you guys. "2025 is the year carry stopped being a rich guy hobby. Prices went stupid, premium micros got smug, and regular dudes finally said, I'm not paying rent money for a pocket gun. That's where the Taurus GX4 carry walked in. I watched it happen at my local shop. A whole row of GX4 carries were moving faster than the clerk could tag them. Not because they were pretty, but because guys who'd been carrying beat up good enough pistols were done getting embarrassed by what they thought they could trust. One guy next to me literally muttered, if this thing runs, I'm switching today. He wasn't a Taurus fan, he was just a tired man with bills. We took one to the line. No speeches, no babying. It just ran. And that look he gave me said it all. That moment that says, so I don't have to settle anymore. That's why it's on a changed everything list. The GX4 carry didn't rewrite carry by being perfect, it rewrote 2025 by proving budget concealed carry can be real carry and not a gamble you apologize for. The downside though? Taurus still has history. You don't buy this on faith, you buy it and test it. You know the old concealed carry trade? If it's thin enough to disappear, you're living with a short stack and a grip that feels like you're holding a toy. That deal survived for years. 2025 is where it started dying, and the MC9 LS is part of that death. I've watched guys handle it at the counter, and the reaction wasn't cool new canic. It was that confused laugh, the one that says, wait, you're telling me I don't have to pick between slim and serious anymore? Because that's what this gun represents in 2025. The moment slim carry stopped being the lesser option. On the line, it didn't feel like a nervous micro anymore. It carried thin, but shot like something you'd actually trust when your heart's racing. That's the change. Not a spec sheet, a carry rule getting rewritten in real time. Is there a cost? Yeah, there is. Slightly more slide to manage in some setups, and Canic still has to earn long-term trust with real carry guys. But the point still stands. In 2025, thin guns don't get to be undergunned anymore. And next one is the brand that made that idea mainstream. At some point this year, I looked around a class and realized half the dudes on the line were running the same thing on their belt. Not a 19, not a 17, a skinny little Glock with a cut on the slide and a dot riding shotgun. That's when it clicked. The 43X MOS isn't just another Glock. It's the moment concealed carry finally merged thin, modern, and serious into one gun. You get a grip you can actually hang on to, a slide that takes a real optic without mailing it to a gunsmith, and a package that disappears under a cheap t-shirt. This is the gun that made red dot slim carry normal, not niche. And yep, the internet war over 15-round mags turned it into a religion. Some guys swear it's the closest thing to a skinny 19, others have horror stories, and that's good. That pressure forced people to actually shoot and vet their gear instead of flexing on Instagram. The 43X MOS changed 2025 because it stopped thin carry from meaning half-armed. Next one, not nearly as modern, but people are still chasing it like they missed a memo. For a few years, everybody was obsessed with tiny 9mm that beat your hands up and made you pretend you shot them well. 2025 is when a lot of guys admitted they shoot better with a grip and a real sight radius again. And this is where the Mossberg MC2C slides in and took that space. Most people still think shotguns when they hear Mossberg, and that's fine. The MC2C feels like it was built by shotgun people who understand recoil and control. It's Glock 19 territory on paper, but slimmer in the belt and easier in the hand. It's the gun you grab when you're done lying to yourself about micro pistols and just want a compact that actually lets you work. What changed everything here isn't a gimmick. The MC2C gave normal shooters permission to move back up in size without feeling like they failed the tiny gun trend. Full hand grip, real capacity, and a gun that stays flat enough to keep you honest on the timer. Downside? It's still a bigger gun to hide than the micros, and Mossberg pistols don't have the cult following to impress anybody at the range, but the target doesn't care about brand stickers. Next one proves you don't even need this much gun to hit like that. This gun has no business still haunting a 2025 concealed carry list, and yet, here we are. While everybody else chases micro this and optics ready that, the P99 is the gun guys are hunting on used shells and final edition leftovers. Not because it's new, but because 2025 reminded a lot of people what a real double action carry trigger is supposed to feel like. Walther's big push now is the PDP, optics ready and modern, but the reason anyone even takes Walther seriously in 2025 starts with this P99. You can keep your mushy striker safeties. The AS system lets you holster with a heavy first pull and still get a clean single action shot after the first round. For a gun that gets carried, that matters more than another cute slide cut. And the way this thing points, it feels like someone carved the grip for a human hand and not a spec sheet. Drawback's pretty obvious. It's thicker than the tiny plastic toys, and you're not walking into a random shop and grabbing one. But that's exactly why it earned a slot here. In 2025, this pistol didn't keep up, it exposed how far modern carry guns drifted from what actually works. There's a reason so many full-size holsters started collecting dust in 2025. Guys didn't suddenly get weaker or lazier, they just found out this skinny SIG could do the job they've been saving for the big gun all these years. The XL went on my belt just for a quick trip, and it never really came off. The longer slide keeps the nose down, the grip actually fills the hand, and it carries like a small gun but argues like a big one. Somewhere between the third reload drill and the fifth cleaning string at distance, you stop thinking this is good for a micro and start thinking this is just good, period. That's the shift. I flipped the old rule. Big gun for serious work, small gun for errands. The XL made a lot of people pick one pistol and live with it all day, every day. It's not cheap, not perfect, and it absolutely demands you shoot it enough to trust it. But if you're honest, this is the gun that made you look at your full size and ask, why am I still dragging you around? By the way, the next one does that to people without the SIG price tag. Look at your belt for a second. Either there's a break under your shirt, or there's a tiny little gun you keep making excuses for. That's why you're here in this intervention, because at some point, carry turned into the stupid two-gun lifestyle. One pistol you actually shoot well, and one you actually wear. The Hellcat Pro is the friend dragging your old setup into the room and saying, pick one, live with it. It's the size that tells your back, relax, I've got this, but the moment you press it out, it doesn't feel like a compromise gun. The grip gives you enough to fight with, the slide length settles the gun down, and it carries real rounds without turning your waistband into a construction project. You can keep pretending the big gun is for real days and the tiny one is better than nothing, or you admit this thing made both of them feel outdated the first week you actually shot it. And the next gun is for the guys still clinging to metal and nostalgia like that's a training plan. I remember the exact counter where I traded my first Micro 9 away. Some salesman talked me into a more tactical polymer wonder, and I let that little metal gun walk for way less than what it was worth. At the time, it felt smart, but in hindsight, it was stupid. Because in 2025, these things just refuse to die. Every range I go to, there's always that one older guy running a Micro 9 out of a clean leather holster, shooting slow, stacking hits, and then quietly leaving while the tactical crowd clears malfunctions. It's not loud about it, it just works. But it's also not perfect. Some of them are picky with junk ammo, the price is always proud, and it demands you actually maintain it instead of treating it like a disposable plastic toy. But when you get a good one fed with good ammo, it feels like a shrunken 1911 built for real pockets and real hands. Thin, light, metal, and controllable. This gun didn't vanish when the Micro 9 fad hit. It survived it. If you ever sold one off because polymer is the future, 2025 is the year that mistake keeps tapping you on the shoulder. If all you've ever carried are plastic striker bricks, the first mag through a PX4 feels like cheating. The gun moves, but it doesn't lap. That rotating barrel just soaks everything up in a way the 2025 micro crowd still hasn't figured out how to copy. For a while, the PX4 was the weird Beretta people walked past on the shelf. Then 2025 hit, and everyone started whining about snappy little carry guns, and suddenly, this old chunk of Italian engineering started looking real smart again. Guys who actually shoot, like more than a mag a month, realized they could carry something that hides like a compact, but recoils like it's heavier than it really is. It's not the smallest and not the trendiest, and it sure as hell isn't the first thing an algorithm recommends, but it did something important this year. It reminded people that comfort in recoil matters just as much as comfort on the belt. A gun you hate to shoot is a gun you quietly avoid practicing with. The PX4 doesn't care about clout, it just keeps making snappy microguns look and feel unfinished. Next up is a gun that proved budget soft shooting is indeed real. On the fourth day of the summer class, everyone's flexing about something premium. Staccatos, fancy glocks, optics everywhere. And on the far end of the line, there's one dude with a beat-up Ruger Security 9 and a cheap Kydex rig that's seen more sweat than oil. Nobody's asking him about his setup. And by lunch, he's the only one everybody's watching. While the high-dollar stuff is taking turns choking on bad grip and bad reloads, the Ruger just keeps barking no matter what. Draw, press, 2 in the chest, 1 in the head, holster, repeat. No drama, no speeches, just a blue-collar gun doing blue-collar work. On break, I asked him why he never upgraded, and he shrugged, bought it when money was tight, planned to replace it, couldn't justify it once I realized the damn thing wouldn't quit. That's what 2025 did for the Security 9. It didn't turn it into a status symbol, it turned it into the rude reminder that a lot of guns burned rent money chasing logos when this ugly thing would have kept up just fine. Sure, the finish may wear, the trigger's not poetry, and nobody's impressed by the name, no doubt, and somehow there are still 3 guns left that should concealed carry harder than this one. I keep thinking about one guy from my local shop. Not a gun nerd, not a collector, just a dad with 2 kids in the car and barely enough left on the car to even be standing at that counter. Glock money wasn't happening, so he pointed at a 43X, saw the price, laughed that tired laugh every working man knows, and said, "Alright, what can I actually afford that isn't junk?" The guy behind the counter handed him a Dagger Micro. No speech, no fanboy pitch. Just, if you're gonna carry every day, this'll do the job. Fast forward a few months, same dude at the range, same beat up Dagger Micro in a cheap IWB holster, sweat stains on his belt, kids as snack wrappers in the truck. Guns got holster rash, finish worn at the nose, and yet still eats everything he feeds it. It may not be pretty or even look special, but that's exactly why he trusts it. That's what changed for him in 2025. concealed carry stopped being a someday purchase and became something he could finally afford to do right. Next gun is for the guys who never needed a budget excuse in the first place. This gun doesn't live in a case, it lives on your hip the minute you roll out of bed. You feel it when you lean over the sink brushing your teeth, when you sit in the car half awake, when the seatbelt traps everything in place. It tucks in, digs a little, reminds you it's there, but never enough to make you say, "Screw it, I'll leave it home today." That's the real test most guns fail. Coffee run, hardware store, picking up the kids, bending, reaching, twisting in some crappy office chair that hates holsters. The Shield Plus carry comp just keeps riding along, small enough to disappear, big enough that you don't doubt what's in your waistband when a sketchy truck rolls in next to you at the gas station. When you hit the range, same gun, same holster. Comp keeps the nose down, follow-up stays honest, and you're not switching to a real pistol for drills. This is that pistol. That's how it changed 2025 for a lot of people. One gun that lives on the belt all day and never feels like a compromise. And if this still feels like too much gun to you, you're not the one it's waiting for. From behind the counter, this thing ruins a lot of CCW arguments. Guys come in talking about capacity charge, trigger feel, micro this, compensated that. They point at half the case, talk themselves in circles, then finally ask the only honest question in the room. Okay, what should I actually buy if I don't want to be back here in 6 months? That's when the 19 Gen 5 comes out. Not because it's trendy, but because I'm tired of watching people spend rent money on experiments. You see patterns when you're around guns long enough. New models spike, vanish, show up back in the used case with only 200 rounds through it. The 19 doesn't do that. It leaves ones, and then I just see it again as holster wearer, stipple jobs, beat up range rentals that refuse to die. 2025 brought dots, comps, slim lines, clones, all of it. Good stuff. A lot of the guns on this list exist because somebody was trying to be this one boring pistol. That's the part nobody likes to say out loud. It's not the smallest, lightest, softest, or sexiest. It's just the gun everything else has to apologize for not being. And if you think the story ends here, the bonuses are about to prove 2025 had even more problems this thing could fix. This is the gun for the guy who looks at all these slim little CCW darlings and says, cute. Anyway, 509 Tactical is overkill for most people, and that's exactly why some dudes won't carry anything else. Threaded barrel, tall sight, dots sitting up there like a billboard, and a grip that doesn't care how small your t-shirt is. This isn't deep concealment. This is I'm dressing around the gun because I'm done pretending. In 2025, it became the quiet flex. Not Gucci, not fragile, just a big, ugly, military-minded pistol crammed into civilian concealment. It prints a little, weighs a lot, and absolutely doesn't care about your feelings. The P10C is what happens when somebody in the room finally says, fine, we'll build your precious plastic striker gun, but it's gonna actually shoot straight. Every time I hand one to a Glock diehard, the same thing happens. First mag, eyebrows up. Second mag, little nod. Third mag, okay, I get it. The grip angle, the way it cracks, the trigger wall, none of it is flashy. It just feels like the gun is helping instead of fighting. In 2025, this turned into the I'm not a fanboy, I just shoot what works answer. It rides like any other compact CCW piece, but it's the first thing people mention when they're done pretending brand loyalty is a personality. If the 19 is the standard, the P10C is the rude reminder that the standard can be improved on, and for some shooters, maybe even quietly replaced. So yeah, 2025 wasn't just new carry guns, it changed what carry means. Smaller didn't have to be weak, capacity didn't have to be a trick, and trust didn't have to come with a $900 price tag. So I want to hear from you. Which one of these actually changed your carry this year, or which one are you still resisting even though you know it's probably time? Drop it down in the comments. I'm your boy Steve, so stay sharp, stay safe, and don't let hype pick your carry gun for you.